Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So, just to welcome everybody to this Saturday evening, 21st of June. The light element is at its maximum. I think it's going to start to get darker now. But hopefully, on the level of the mind, we keep the light going. Yeah. And it's a hot one, isn't it, too? Sometimes I hear the comment from people that they don't seem to be getting anywhere with their meditation. And sometimes the way I respond to that is, it does take time and patience. In this day and age where everything's so instant and we get what we want very quickly, internet and Amazon. Sometimes this quality of, we can expect, things to go quickly with meditation too. But, when we're dealing with the mind, it's very much a very involved process, and it does take time and patience to appreciate the benefits of taking this time to stop and meditate together. And sometimes not judging the benefits of the meditations just by the experience of the meditation session itself, because there are things, if we're cultivating being aware in the present, that is something that's benefiting on some level. So sometimes people think because they don't seem to be getting anywhere, they think, am I doing it right? But if you're just being aware in the present, then that's part of what meditation is about. Even maybe what we're experiencing is maybe not what we particularly want, but the fact that we're being with it, being more present with it, to me that's doing it right. And the Buddha mentioned this, that the mental cultivation, bhavana, is something that does take time, and it's only over periods of time where maybe we might notice the results of it. So the example the Buddha gave was like, if every time you say use an axe to chop wood, that you looked at the handle to see how much of the would have been worn away, you wouldn't see any difference. But over a period of time, using it over a period of time, you notice, finger marks starting to appear in the handle of the axe. So this is the example the Buddha gave. But speaking of not judging, the benefits of the meditation from the experience of the meditation itself, I like to share a story. And this is something that a very good supporter of Sangha, who's now passed away, told us about. And his name was Maurice Walsh. And he was a professor of German in university in London. And he decided to try this meditation out. So he started to go to the Buddhist Society in London. And he went for several months, and after several months he was thinking, I'm not really getting anywhere with this meditation. I don't think I'll go again. And so he was thinking like this, and he went home to his, I think he lived in St Albans with his wife. And that when he was thinking like this, and he was at the dinner table with his wife, and suddenly his wife said to him, she said, "You know, Maurice, you've been so less bad-tempered since you've been doing that meditation." And this is to me is, I was looking for the experience of meditation, but how it is making us a bit more patient and less reactive. These are very good things to cultivate. And sometimes it's sort of been in a situation that once you might have got really upset with, and now it doesn't bother you so much. It's also an example of the benefits of meditation. Something is being developed. And just on one occasion, I was travelling with a Malaysian supporter. We were flying together from Thailand to Malaysia, and we got to the airport, and we couldn't, due to certain circumstances, we couldn't get on the flight, and so we had to just had to go back, stay overnight near the airport. And before, this gentleman was quite a businessman, and he said, if that would have happened when I was doing business, he said he got really angry and upset. But he says, "Oh, but now I can just adapt." So he really saw that as a good, how this Dharma was helping. Yeah? Instead of getting angry and upset and causing a big fuss, he just adapted to the way it was. There's another analogy the Buddha gives, which I think a nice one I like to bring to mind. Again, if I'm getting into this mindset of, oh, nothing's happening, well, I'm not getting this, getting that, is what, the Buddha relates this analogy of a farmer. And the farmer is growing his crops. And the duty of the farmer is he must give the crops water, good soil, and it's sunlight, light, put them in the light. So that's his duty. But then the farmer can't say, okay, crops, grow this much tomorrow, grow this much the day after, and grow this much the day after that. He can't say that. So all he can do is set the right conditions for the crops to grow. So even if you tug at the crops, it's not going to help. Yeah. And so the Buddha said in the same way, the duty of he's talking to the monks here. The duty of the monk is to cultivate virtue, cultivate the mind, the bhavana, mental cultivation, and to cultivate wisdom. But so that how quickly, insights or enlightenment happens, that's up to things beyond our control. All we can do is set the right conditions for these things to arise. So, we can't pull at the mind to make it things happen quicker. We can set the right conditions. So that's something, to contemplate our life. The things that support insights is, sila, is about virtue. How we use our body and speech. So, just like body with like the senses, if we're continually stimulating the senses through sights and sounds, is this really going to support mental cultivation? Or if we're not using our speech skillfully, like tonight we did chant about certain types of speech that the Buddha encouraged to avoid, like lying and malicious, frivolous, because these things have effect on the mind. They create the karma. So, if we're continually creating more mental karma and stirring things up, then you can expect things to develop in the way we might want them to. Then, spending time too, develop qualities like mindfulness, this cultivating the mind, cultivating awareness, mindfulness, more calm quality of mind. And then, wisdom, how we use our thoughts and how we reflect on life. So, we might, one can read a book and read some of the teachings, but then we read something new, and something new, and something new. But it's just like we're creating a sort of a memory of things, and just going from one book to another. Where the Buddha, if we want to develop wisdom, the Buddha encourages us to reflect often on certain themes. Ourselves to reflect on certain themes. You encourage wise reflection. So just like one of the themes that the Buddha encourages us to reflect on is impermanence. Now, maybe it's a simple, something we can all understand. Yes, things are impermanent. We can appreciate that on one level, but how do we respond to change? Now, I would say that if we reflect on this often, then our response to change would, we become more adaptable. So rather than getting angry, upset, anxious, we can reflect. This is the nature of life. So, like the example of the Malaysian supporter who was flying with me, he adapted to the change. Things he didn't expect everything to go the way he wanted them to. He could adapt. But I think to not get caught into the habitual reaction to change, like getting angry or anxious or upset, what helps with that is to reflect often on this theme. And what happens then, if we reflect often, it's like we bring this understanding onto another level, where it starts to come up. And when things change, sometimes in a way we don't like. So rather than get caught into more habitual reactions, a wise reflection comes up. And that supports us not getting caught into habitual reactions. You say like the Four Noble Truths, reflecting on the cause and conditions behind things. So I was just recently teaching a retreat, and one of the questions on the papers that people write questions on was, she said how she gets so angry with her children. And so, the way I responded to that, I said, well, if it was other people's children doing the same thing, would you still get angry? Just, because I can see from my own experience that a lot of our reactions are conditioned by our attachment to people. And with that attachment, sometimes that sense of we have to control. I remember on one occasion, it was at Amavati Monastery, and my sister came to stay. And Luang Por Sujito was up on the high seat like this, and he'd just given a Dharma talk. And my sister was there, and and while he was talking, she got up and stood right in front of him and asked him, and said something. And my reaction was, But then I thought, if that was somebody else's sister, would I have reacted the same? But when we can reflect like this, it does help to dampen the reactions, because we're looking at the cause, we're reflecting on causes and conditions, rather than just getting caught into the reaction. So this is a skill to develop if we use the wisdom of the teachings to look at the causes and conditions around some of our reactions to things. Maybe to look at the causes and conditions of some of our habits, what's led to some of these habits. Then we're starting to sort of, wise reflection. We're starting to counteract the tendency to get caught in these habits and keeping them going. Because now we're using wise reflection. So rather than get into, say, habitual thoughts, the habitual thoughts, we're now reflecting, why am I reacting like this? Why is this happening? Now sometimes we don't always have the answer, but sometimes we do begin to understand some of the more causes and conditions behind some of our experiences. And when we can understand the cause and conditions and bring them up when we're experiencing the particular mind state, then that's lessening the power of that mind state from taking over the mind, because now we're bringing some wise reflection. And for that wise reflection to come up, we have to reflect over and over again. It's not going to happen just reading it once. We have to reflect on it often. So we have these chants in the monastery. And one of our reflections is about old age, sickness and death. This should be reflected upon again and again by one who has gone forth. And, the benefits of that is, one day we're going to get old and sick and die. Now, if we reflect on it, maybe this will help us to adapt to it. Not get suffer so much from it, because it's what we've learned to expect. And to bear with it with more mindfulness and wisdom. But Buddha said, reflect on these themes over and over again. So this is setting the conditions for our insights to arise by, looking at our virtue, looking at, developing the mind through meditation, and learning to reflect wisely. So this is what we keep on cultivating, and how insights and things, deep insights will come will depend on, how much we cultivate that. So, some people ask, how long does it take to learn these things? How long does it take to get enlightened? Well, it's many factors, isn't it? It's depending on your particular karma and what you've done in your past. And also how much you're putting careful attention into what you're cultivating now. Into your virtue, into your mental development, into your wise reflection. There's another teaching that I like to bring to mind, and this is the Buddha outlined 4 qualities. We call these the things that support success in what we're doing, and this not only applies to in terms of spiritual development, but also to worldly achievements too. And these 4 qualities are, chanda, which is the Pali word chanda, which is like desire, virya, effort, citta, putting one's heart into it, giving it a lot of attention, and vimamsa, using our ability to discriminate and reflect. So maybe on a worldly level, because say you're a sportsman, and as a sportsman you want to win, don't you? So that's what one aspires towards, being a good, say, tennis player. So that's the chanda you aspire towards, achieving something. But to do that, you've got to put effort into training yourself. It's not going to just happen magically. You're not just going to, pick up a tennis racket and go out there and win Wimbledon, are you? You have to really, put some effort into developing your skill. And then citta is like really, focusing on that, on the goal. So in terms of, you say, a sports person, say, if you're really going to put your heart into it, you've got to be quite disciplined with it. You can't just say, I'm just going to practice when I feel like it. I don't feel like practicing today, I'll just stay in bed or watch a movie. And are you really going to, be successful if you just give in to your moods and only practice your tennis or your sport when you want to? No, and I think professional would go against the grain a bit and practice sometimes when they don't really feel like it. And then using discrimination. So in your particular sport, maybe you look at where your weaknesses are and maybe focus on how to counteract that weakness. What muscles you might like to develop to support that ability. So there's a way of investigating the sort of exercises and the things you practice more than maybe certain exercises you might practice more than others. So this is using one's ability to reflect and see what would help, support. So, these same qualities in terms of, you say, spiritual development. Well, we have this aspiration towards, my aspiration would be to free the heart from greed, hate and delusion. So that, and interesting, this word chanda, it represents also more of a wholesome desire. Like you had the chanda to come here tonight. If you hadn't done that chanda, you won't be here. But it's like a wholesome desire. Different from the word tanha, which is the cause of suffering, which is more like the selfish desire, wanting something for me. Or wanting to get rid of something that you have. And we use more the word craving. So there can be wholesome desires, but craving is more like the desires that lead to suffering. Yes, and coming to practice meditation is something that requires a certain effort to keep one's mind more in the present moment, not to let the mind run off into habitual thoughts. And patience, patience too. Patiently bringing it back when one is patiently bringing it back. And that takes a sort of a mental effort. But of course, I think even like a sportsman, you can overdo it. Too much training maybe will work against you. So in meditation, too much effort can work against one. So learn how to balance one's effort. Too much effort, the mind doesn't respond well to that, or too little effort. So it's learning over time to balance one's effort, but must be, some effort. And then again, citta, putting your heart into the practice, deciding, when you taking time to stop, be still, come into the present moment. And maybe sometimes to sit and meditate when you don't really feel like meditating. I mean, for monastics, I'm sure many times, for the monks and nuns, sometimes you have to go to puja at 5 o'clock, and sometimes probably they prefer not to go, or go to evening puja at 7:30. But we go, because that's part of our routine. Now, I must admit that we get the support of the group to do that, but but of course, to do that under one's team is more challenging. But again, something which could would be beneficial if we could have time for quiet contemplation, meditation, and then vimamsa. The more we're aware of the state of mind, maybe we begin to understand what will help to deal with different states of mind. So, for instance, if the mind is very dull, sleepy, watching the breath maybe is not the thing to do. So maybe some sort of contemplation to bring some good energy into the mind, skillful contemplation. If the mind's restless and all over the place, then we use the body, breathing, to bring it back into the present moment. So we use this ability to reflect in the meditation too, seeing the mind state we're experiencing in the present moment, and what might help to allay that mind state. So it's not just plugging away at one technique, hoping for the best. We're using, our ability to reflect and see what works. So this is what we call vimamsa. Something I've been contemplating recently is this word chanda and tanha, and I'm just reflecting with the sports people. I don't know if this is true, but just to remind, I'm thinking if a sports person is too much desire to win, then maybe they don't enjoy the playing so much. They get frustrated with the performance, and because there's too much. Bit of tanha, I want the title for me. Where chanda is you're aspiring towards winning, but then you're not so focused on winning that you can't enjoy the match. You know what I mean? So it's like not being so focused on the goal, but also being more aware of what you're doing in the present. I think if people maybe could find that balance, they would enjoy the sport more. So I reflect on this, and I have this little mantra that I sometimes bring to mind. Enjoy the journey. And just this last week, I've had a couple of I've been doing a couple of jobs, and one of them is trying to doing some cable testing between the building over here and the building over there. Another job was doing something between the nuns' cottages. Yeah. And when you're in two places, sometimes you've left something at the other place. I've got to go back and get it, and I've got to go back and get it again. You're wandering between two things, and you can get pretty frustrated sometimes. So when I notice getting a bit frustrated because I've left something, and I start walking, then I bring this thought to mind: enjoy the journey. Which the effect of that is just to make me look around me and look at the nice nature around and appreciate walking between the buildings. Then it's a different experience than being frustrated, I've got to go back and get that, Enjoying the journey rather than being too focused on the goal. So the same, the nun's cottage, I got one side set up and I went down to the other side, and it wasn't working. So I go back, do some alterations, go back, it's still not working. So I'm going back and forth. And again, bring this man to enjoy the journey. It's all right because it's a nice little walk between the cottages around nature and listening to the birds and a breeze and But it's just a different experience when I brought this mantra to mind, enjoy the journey. And then even when I'm doing this fiddly work with wires, I think enjoy the journey. So I don't try and do it too, don't try and force it. Just let it happen naturally, focused. And it's amazing how this fiddly work goes better when I have the attitude rather than trying to get it done. So this is to me the difference between chanda and tanha. Tanha is that I've got to get this done and I don't enjoy the journey. Where this idea of chanda is something you got to do, but now how to enjoy the journey of doing it. So meditation, and we sit down before a period of meditation, are we trying to get something from it? Are we trying to get back to an experience? Or trying to get a certain experience? Trying to get rid of something? So, if that's our attitude, then meditation is a struggle. But if we approach meditation with that aspiration to be awake to what's happening in the present moment, whatever is manifesting, maybe it's a different experience. And maybe this is the attitude that helps meditation unfold in a more beneficial way rather than trying to get something from it. So, we have an aspiration to free the heart, from certain, defilements. But we have to learn, in meditation, we have to learn to be aware of these things and understand them before we can let them go. So maybe that's our, maybe the intention to bring up whatever comes up. I'm just going to practice being awake to it, being present with it, trying to reflect wisely. So things like this. The aspiration to be awake and aware in the present moment. And again, looking at if we are suffering in the present moment, why? What don't we want? Okay, maybe we realize I don't want this restless mind. I don't want this discomfort. But actually, can we learn to be more peaceful with it? Can we learn to be more accepting of it? So Ajahn Chah, his reflection was that I like to bring to mind is about monkeys and the monkey mind. And in this particular teaching, Ajahn Chah said, if we can't expect the mind just to be still and stay with the breath. It will jump around like a monkey. But he said, but what we have to do is just understand the monkey. If we don't want the monkey to be a monkey, then it's a problem, we suffer. But if we just understand the nature of the monkey, then we can be at peace with the monkey. If we understand the monkey. And this is something that I can appreciate from meditation, is like being able to be more peaceful with certain mind states that initially I couldn't be peaceful with, that I used to suffer over, but now I can more just be with them. Because, I'm more accepting the way it is. And it changes. And it changes more quickly because if I don't interfere with it so much, if I just allow it to work its way through. Well, this is the benefits of more peaceful acceptance, being aware of the way it is. Learning to be with the monkey. Understand the monkey. And Ajahn Chah made the comment, he said that if you understand the monkey, you don't become the monkey. But if you don't understand the monkey, then you become the monkey. So I'd just like to offer these thoughts this evening in terms of, again, this theme of if you don't feel you're getting anywhere with meditation, just these are some thoughts, ways we can reflect. And I would encourage you to keep with it. And, being patient and not expecting things to happen overnight. Things will, all we can do is set the right causes for things, skillfulness to arise. So, the Buddha's given us clear guidelines about how to set the right causes. And then we just have to experience the karma of our life and allow it to work through and lessen the influences of craving, aversion and delusion over time. So, I'd like to offer these reflections this evening.